So before we started recording, you told me, we were telling each other our bougie origin stories.
Yes.
And I really love your bougie origin story because...
Have you heard my mother yell at me?
That one, I wish we had that recorded because that was like gold. I was like, call her back. But like literally I love that because I think that's, if correct me if I'm wrong, how you got into food, period. And how you became a chef, which I didn't, of course it starts so early. Mm-hmm. But I feel like your story is so, like, it's, you have to write it in a book. Like, it is like chapter 1. Like, I love that. So you have to tell that story again.
Okay, so my bougie origin story, first of all, it's in you. It's not something you learn, but it is. It's just like, oh, this resonates with me. I am better at all things. And I deserve better in all ways. My grandmother, I worked at my aunt's restaurant. It was called Southside Diner in Tallahassee, Florida. And my auntie would let me work there on the weekend and stuff, you know. So I was already in a restaurant. I grew up being in a restaurant. It was like free child labor for my auntie. My mom got a babysitter. Everybody won, right? I got a career. Everybody won.
Everybody's getting what they need right now.
Right. Everyone's getting what they need right now. And, you know, 30-some years later, we're still eating on that. And so my grandmother and mother, you heard me get corrected. My mother and then my grandmother took me to a French restaurant in Tallahassee, and it was called Chez Pierre, which is why I had to get the name, because I was like, I know it couldn't have been Chez Pierre.
She immediately corrected you. She was like, first of all,
I was like, my grandmother took me. She was like, she did not.
I took you, and she was there.
Okay. And you made the reservation. I rode with you. We get it, sis. I'm so sorry. I think I always go to my grandmother because she was the one who cooked.
Yeah.
And like, I love you down there, girl. And she cooks now. And she be cooking it now. I'll give it to her. She does cook now. She has her dishes, okay? Back in the day, she gets so mad when I say this. I could not eat spaghetti one more day. I can't do it. I don't want spaghetti. I don't want chicken helper. I can't. I can't. That's all we ate, like, constantly. That and crabs. And I know everyone's very into the seafood boil thing now, but until you have a mother who doesn't eat beef or pork, and there is a seafood boil, like, twice a week, which I know sounds nice, but it's a lot. It's just a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a constant seafood boiling.
I learned the term palate fatigue recently.
Ooh, I've never heard of that, but also yes.
Yeah, and I realized that's what I've been suffering from all my life, was palate fatigue. Because I was like, why can't I just do what everyone else does, which is make one giant pot of a thing and eat it every single day? And Chef Charlie actually was like, oh, palate fatigue. I was like,
that's my girl.
Ah!
Of course she knew it.
Right.
She knows everything.
She actually does.
She does. She knows everything.
Like yeah.
I hate her. Look, face camera. I hate her.
Shout out to Charlie.
Shout out to Charlie. I hate her. No, that's my girl. But so she took me to this restaurant, and I remember being like very interested but very confused because I was like, I don't speak the French, so I don't know what some of this stuff is. And I remember they ordered me a chicken dish with bacon, so they ordered me a coq au vin, which is actually one of my best dishes now. Because I went to French Culinary School and I learned how to make it. And like, it's one of my best dishes. It's chicken thighs, it's bacon, pearl onions. What's not to like, right? It is so good. And my mother just told both of us, because I didn't remember this, that I told the chef of the restaurant that I like to cook, and apparently he took me downstairs to the kitchen.
Let's go.
You know, which subconsciously, I guess it was like boom, boom, boom. But I remember that trip being so impactful for me because I was like, oh, there's, like, food is a whole world. You know, like, it's a whole different, this is a whole different thing, but it has all these elements of things I love and I'm already really into, like chicken thighs and bacon, you know, and I didn't know it at the time, but red wine, like, I'm into all these things and I'm like, oh, it's in one place. This is amazing. So I think that is probably my bougie origin story. And then like going to culinary school, you know, I did become just a little bit of a food snob. And then you're like, oh, I don't eat McDonald's anymore, child. And no more El Big Mac.
And you actually have such a hot take on restaurants. Because I was like really surprised when we were talking and you were like, but restaurants can give you so much. And I feel like if you're not...
Is that a hot take?
I think that's a hot take. I think if you're not like David Chang and like Neysa Arrington and Richard Blais, everyone else is like, man, fuck this restaurant. Like, there's this
and
weird,
there's an element of that for sure.
You know,
for
and
sure.
Even restaurant owners, like, I went to a webinar literally this morning that was hosted. I'm not even gonna say. I went to a webinar. It was great, but they didn't pay me, you know. And restaurant owners were there, and they were talking, and you could see the exhaustion on their face. And so I think that when you talk to a restaurant owner and say, would you recommend this? They'd be like, fuck no, even though they do it and they love it and they're committed, but they don't recommend. They're not on Instagram like, day in the life of being a chef. Love. Like, they're not selling it. You know what I mean? And so you're like, you kind of have this love-hate relationship with your restaurant, but your take on restaurants is really... It almost reminds me of like how Black people feel about America, where they're like, I know how dark it gets, but I'm dedicated to making this work. And if you can't make it work here, then what are we doing? Like, you're
trying to win capitalism, but not like absorb patriarchy.
Yes.
Which is very difficult.
Very difficult, but it's a real love in the sense of like, you know all the things, you know where it gets ugly, where all the bodies are buried, and you're still here, even though now you're a private chef. So
my restaurant take, which I'm very passionate about. I understand and first of all, what you said is the reason I left. Like, you don't get paid enough. I think the pandemic, which is actually probably why it's very much like fuck restaurants. The pandemic taught us like these hoes are not loyal. And I had that experience. I worked at, I don't want to say their name because they still make cheese, but it was in Thomasville, Georgia. Worst restaurant experience I ever had.
Know who they are, but go ahead.
Worst restaurant experience I ever had. The initial staff walked out because me and my Black executive chef started working there, and they walked out the day we got there. Yes.
Go off.
Yes, they did.
Claim your $2 an hour. Fine.
They walked out, and so we were working there, and it was like the worst restaurant experience I ever had. And these people closed the restaurant and didn't tell us they were going to close the restaurant. We all found out they were going to close it like 48 hours before they closed it.
Wow.
48 hours before they closed it.
So no time to plan, prepare, move on, nothing.
And I was about to move to Georgia for that job.
Right.
And the chef told me, she was like, just wait, because something didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh no. Right? So I understand more than most why it's like, fuck this restaurant. However, I have seen people come out of being incarcerated. I have friends who were literally like drug addicts. They were pill heads. They were like completely different people. And to me, it is a instant career. You do have to watch your back. The restaurant culture, the going out, the doing drugs, all the stuff that comes with it. It is like, it can be a lot of pitfalls for someone coming from like maybe a harder life. However, if you can get your shit together and you work hard and you work in the dish pit, start in a dish pit. So many chefs will tell you they started in the dish pit and they made it to executive chef.
Right.
And now they're like, yeah, I'm part of the restaurant. My name's on the door. Da da da. And like, is executive chef, like you just said, like the best job in the world and the thing most people going for? No. But if you're incarcerated and you're struggling, like this is a career you can make it in because no one gives a fuck about what you did before here. If you come in and you did the work, we don't care that you were in jail. We don't. If he gonna be here on time and if he gonna wash some dishes, right? Yeah. And then once you get on the line, if he gonna be here on time, is his prep done? Does he leave it set up for the next shift? Like, if you are a good person in the sense of this restaurant and this space, we don't care. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being good. And you will keep moving up the ranks. Obviously, there are, some restaurants that are like, with the moving people up. But still, like, you have a chance.
A path.
It gives you a chance. It is literally the aisle of misfit toys. They take anybody. We take anybody. If each one teach one, you learn so much from each other.
Yeah.
And if people, at least from my perspective, a lot of times that I probably would never talk to outside of that, but you have this like camaraderie.
Yeah.
Because you're both working towards this same goal that night, which is like put out some bomb ass food and learn new techniques and keep furthering your like love of this thing. And it becomes so ingrained in who you are.
Yeah.
So, like, while I understand, yes, private chefs are, like, the antithesis of working in a restaurant. And, like, we're all, like, forging our own paths and making way more than a lot of executive chefs in a restaurant. It's, like, we can't shit on restaurants because it's not it's not nothing.
They're a part of the ecosystem.
It's a necessary part of the ecosystem. A lot of when I'm trying to figure out like my percentages and how I need like my labor, my food costs, taxes, like operating costs, all that, I take that from the knowledge I have from restaurants.
Yeah.
Something private chefs get from me, and they're like, oh, how did you come up with all these templates for like a grocery list, a prep list, shopping list? How did you learn I learned it from being in a restaurant, because you need a list, a checklist, so even somebody off the street who has zero food training can come in and do the job.
Right. Systems.
Yeah, I systematize it. Yeah. Exactly.
I feel a very similar, and you articulating that made me realize, like, I think I feel the same way, because I've worked in front of house like longer than I wish I could say, and because I loved food, and as difficult as it was, and I've worked with some awful people, I've also worked with some really great people. And it introduced me to what is some of my favorite things in life. It expanded my palate, because prior to that, we were on seared hot dogs and Easy Mac diet. Like, you know, when I felt fancy, I would do like a baked chicken. Maybe I would do like a baked ziti. But like, you know, and I could cook, but restaurants gave me permission to experiment. Restaurants gave me permission to try other ingredients. I was almost exclusively shopping at farmers markets at one point. Like, restaurants taught me that, you know? And it's like, and sharing that passion. And I've had some people that, you know, some guests are the type of people that make you lose faith in humanity.
Absolutely.
Others are the type of people that remind you, oh, there is a reason why I'm kind of still trying to make this work. I loved introducing people to something that they never thought that they would order.
And they loved it.
Especially Black people.
Woo, that's what I do with my clients. Taking Black people and being like, hey, I understand you're like, I have been eating my steaks well done my whole life. And I'm like, hey, let's just try mid-well. And it will not be bloody. There will be no pink. I got you. And they try it out. Oh my God, it is juicier. It is.
Wait till you get to medium.
And then we walk it up, and I have a friend right now who now eats her steaks medium because, well, I did shame her a little bit, but also I'm like, hey, you don't have to jump from well done to medium rare.
Right.
Like,
you don't have to eat steak tartare right now.
Right. Oh my God, that's literally top 3 favorite things in the whole world.
Right.
But yeah, you don't have to do that. And I think we know historically why we cook our food, you know, the food we were given to death, right? We all know where it came from. So that's why I'm like, hey, but you can just experiment. And if you don't like it, the worst thing that can happen is you're going to be like, ugh, no, I don't like it. That's it. That is the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
You know, and not everybody has the mental fortitude / will to like experiment and expand their palate. But like when you do, so many beautiful things happen. I have a client who didn't eat so much stuff when I first started cooking with her, and now she's like, oh my God, I love caviar. Oh my God, I like smoked salmon. Like, and so now we're doing like smoked salmon and capers and piccata sauces and all this, which is like kind of basic if you're a food person, but for someone who wasn't eating all that,
that's fancy.
You know, for people who are like, what's a caper? You know, like it's one of the like top most rewarding experiences for me as a private chef, to be like, okay, we've built up this comfort level. You trust me. You know I know what you like. I think based on the things you like with your palate, I think you would like this.
Yeah.
Just give it a shot.
What would you say is like the best part about even being a private chef? Because I have a running joke with my friends. Because I cook for my friends, but I was like, I could never cook for money because you're not allowed to say that you don't like something. And
what do you mean?
Like, when I cook for people, they have to like it. It's like you have to be like, this is the best thing ever.
Why do they have to do that?
Because it's for my ego.
Oh.
And that's why I don't have what it takes.
Strike dinner off the things we do together. Because I would definitely be like, well, this is an adventure.
You know? And I'm a great cook, but it's like, cooking for yourself and cooking for friends is not the same thing as what restaurants do by a long shot. It's not the same thing as the systems that you have to put in place to put out that great dish every single time. hundreds of times in a night.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very different. And that's the other thing. I'm like, oh, I've seen that. That's not what I do. What I do is take my sweet ass time on these 2 little chicken thighs, and they're great, but it's not the same thing as doing something at
But I had an hour and a half to really pour into
it, right? And so it's very different. And I have a joke with my friends where I'm like, there's one friend in particular I have in mind who's in Atlanta, and I'm like, I'm your private chef, but like no one else, you know? And because every time I go to her house, I just cook all of the meals because
that's me and my best friend.
Never cooks. And she's like, oh, you know, and it's fun. And she's just so grateful. And I'm so curious for someone who is a private chef IRL, who actually has to do it, who their clients actually have to be happy. What is the best part?
The best part. What is the best part of being, like, specifically the client and chef interaction, right?
Or I guess for you, just like...
There's so much.
There is so much, yeah.
With the client and chef interaction, I think the most rewarding thing there is, like... Honestly, when I take a chance and it pays off. I have a client I've had for almost 2 years now, and I know his palate, I know his wife's palate, like... His wife is French. He's Italian. My food falls anywhere between Southern, French, Italian. He loves soul food. He loves like food from New Orleans. I mean, like Creole food. I've made him like, you know, things that are in his wheelhouse. The other day, I was like, I am craving like pickles and like Haitian food. I wanted Haitian food, so I like made the pickles a few days before, and I got the like pork belly, and I like marinated it for 3 days and then deep fried it, and I'm like, this is not in his wheelhouse, right? But I know he likes tangy things, right? I know he likes vinegar, so I'm like, okay, pickle is good. He likes a little bit of spice. I made a smaller batch with very little spice for them because pickles are supposed to be like hot, you know. So like I did that, and so I made the griot. That's the like deep fried pork belly. They typically don't use pork belly, but you know, he's my client. We had a budget. So we made pork belly, you know, and I made something he was like, what is this? And I was like, it's Haitian food. And he was like, I've never had Haitian food. I was like, I know. Eat it. And he
loved it.
And that is that, right? Like, I do love when clients love things. I feel like...
Especially when they start with the suspicion.
Certain things are, like, easy layups, right? Like, if I make fresh pasta, I make him my meatballs. Like, some stuff, I'm like, yeah, I know you like it, whatever. That feeling's gone once I know you love it. But that whole new culture, literally what happened to me at the French restaurant.
Yes.
Whole new culture, whole new ideas. He loves pork. He loves pork. He loves, like, super tangy things. He loves rice. So the pickles, the griot, the Jean-Jean, he was like, oh my God. It's that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it when you can take risks.
Mm-hmm. And he trusts me enough for me to be like, I don't even give him a menu, which is by far the nicest thing about this client. Like, I don't even give him a menu, and it's just like whatever I was feeling that day, whatever mood I'm in. I know what he likes. I stay within that. And I made something that I really, really felt like making that wasn't necessarily in his wheelhouse, but had enough elements that I thought he would like.
Yeah.
He loved it.
Rich B gets that, though. Because isn't that the point of, like, isn't it not?
No. You have to be, you just said you're a great cook. You cook for your friends. Yeah. Like, y'all been talking about cooking. Y'all are foodie. Let me tell you, no.
All rich people are not foodies?
So few. And it is such a, like... I mean, honestly, even my client now, I wouldn't necessarily call him a foodie because, like, there are things I served that whole dish. I could not have served, like, plantain or sweet potato because he doesn't like sweet things. And for me, that would have been the palate balance for, like, something fatty and rich and, you know, all that. No, doesn't like sweet things. So it doesn't have sweet things. So, like, he's a foodie, but, well, no, I can't say that because I'm a chef and I have, like, specific non-chefy things that I do food-wise.
Yeah.
So I get it. But yeah, I guess he is a foodie. But yeah, most people want more control than that. They're not...
Wow.
Yeah. I've had clients where you have to submit, like, if you're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we submit 5 breakfasts, 5 lunches, 5 dinner options each day, and they choose from that. And sometimes that's not enough and they want more options.
But you know, I think you're right. I think I'm different in the sense that when I go to someone who can do something that I just fundamentally cannot do, and have no purview. I'm like this with my tattoos. I'm like, you do this thing. I can't even draw. You're drawing on my body and it's going to stay there until I die. right? So you do your thing. Like, I literally go to them and I'm like, I'm thinking it could be a flower. And, like, vague. And they're like, what about this? Because they're going to do the thing that they're great at.
Yeah.
When you take the training wheels off or whatever you want, the boundaries off, you're like, go crazy just in this little box right here. And they just do the most amazing thing. I think the fact that you know what he likes and he goes, go crazy, that means, like, because you don't want to put a limit on it. You don't want, because your own imagination, when you're not in that world, is very, very limiting. And so I feel like that's the benefit of being, like, wealthy and having this person cook amazing food. You can be like, oh, go off. And then they do.
Yeah.
And then you benefit. It's like, I don't know. Maybe that's just my...
I wish more people were like that. But sometimes it's also like, it's like just having a need fulfilled. It's like, okay, we have to eat. Like, a lot of times people are like, we got kids. We got to eat. Let's hire somebody to make sure we and the kids have food. And they want to eat like the same, like 4 or 5 things in a loop. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that just becomes knowing what kind of private chef you want. Like, for me, that's too much for me. I recently, because I'm impulsive and I lead with my gut, I recently left a job that was paying like well into 6 figures because I cannot cook the same 5 things. I can't. Yeah. You know, like, on top of being like a chef, I consider myself a very like artsy, creative person. Yeah. So like complicated plating, anything too out of their wheelhouse was just like too much for them. And I was like, yeah, I don't want it. This isn't for me.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
Me specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna get very me.
I'm
gonna get very me. I'm gonna get very me about this. So I consider, like, obviously most people, it's called culinary arts. Food is an art form. So I get inspiration from art. I like to go to galleries. I like to look around. I also get inspiration from nature. I like to be outside and just look at like plants and things and the composition of like different things that are not like things that are grown in nature, but also things that other artistic people put together. I get a lot of inspiration from interior design. I like to see the way someone sets up a room, the spacing and the colors, because to me that translates directly into like plating. Ooh. If I really like if I'm like really into the way a space is sectioned off, I can almost see it with the colors and the spacing as a plate. Yeah. And then I'm like, ooh, okay, so I have like the structure of the plate and the colors I want the plate to have in my head. So like, what dish can I plug in to make that work? Wow. Which is typically how I create dishes.
I've literally never heard it explained that way.
I was talking to actually Chef Charlie. I was like, I think what I have, I would call like culinary synesthesia, because I picture the colors first. And then as I look at the colors and I think about things that like have flavors but that fall within those colors, I kind of think of things that like fall within the colors but go together. Yeah. And that's kind of how I create a dish.
That's amazing.
Like, it's very weird.
It's you know what you sound like? An expert. Like, you, and I say this like, I don't call anybody experts, like including experts, because it's like experts think like if chefs are doing this, experts are like over here. Like if brand people are over here, experts are over here. They've like transcended like how their industry is operating and creating. It's like Swery and I talk about this all the time. When you're doing quote unquote the same thing as someone else and they're getting very different results, they're doing something you're not doing. Yeah. It's so painstakingly annoyingly simple. And when I see your food and I see how different it is, I'm like, she's thinking fundamentally different than how all these other chefs are thinking. I've never even, the connection that you're making with other art forms, interior design, you're taking the experience. I've only actually heard one other restaurant owner kind of speak to interior design at all, let alone being like, and that's what inspires the food, because it means that from the moment I put my foot across the door,
the experience
I'm
started.
in the experience. And that is like a very rare way of looking at it.
It's so funny you say that, because my apartment, which y'all will have to come to, is very that. Like, one of my friends, like, oh, so you like color drenching? Please, been there. Like the feelings, I put wallpaper on the ceilings. I'm color drenching. I'm wrapping the entire room. Everything's green right now. And literally painting cabinets against the wall green. Everything it is oak moss green from Sherwin-Williams, and it is beautiful. But my goal in that is like, yeah, when you're in here, this room is an experience. And the kitchen is in the same area, but it is color drenched, a darker, way different color, because this room is a separate experience. And then when you walk in the bathroom, my bathroom is like this pinkish brown color with this crazy wallpaper on the ceiling. It's like, yeah, because this is a different experience.
Right.
You know?
And it does affect you. Mm-hmm. It does affect you mentally. And I think when you're an artist, I mean, like, this is like a small slice of our place, but when you're an artist,
so much art.
It's like you have to, at every touch point, inspire yourself. You have to keep pouring back into yourself so that you can create. Yeah. I think when people struggle to create things, even if it's like a fucking spreadsheet, I can almost tell you what their space looks like. Because they're missing all those opportunities to like create a quality of life. I think those are the things that just upgrade. It's not just rich nigga shit, but it's like, what is on your wall? What is on your phone? What is on your computer? The files, like, you know, regularly we've been doing a practice of like digitally cleaning out our files, and I'm noticing it gives me the same relief as like cleaning my apartment. Because that's a part of my experience too, is when I pull up that screen and I see everything. And I was like, when everything is intentional, then you get to decide how things will go. Yeah. Yeah.
You're like designing your life, essentially.
Literally. Yeah. So what I love is the cookbook story. Tell me about all of what I'm assuming is a library of cookbooks that you have.
So ever since I think the oldest one I have is probably 2000, somewhere in there. So ever since I was 9, I'm old. Ever since I was like, I'm old.
You were not old.
Girl, do you know people born in 2020 are 25 now? I mean, people born in 2000 are 25 now?
Old is someone wiped my butt. That's how I define old.
Oh, I define that as rich. That sounds that sounds amazing. I don't want to do it, please. So ever since I was 9, my grandmother would give me like these cookbooks, and they all say like happy cooking, love grandma, or like some version of that message, but they all say love grandma and then the year. And the woman has handwriting like a doctor, so thank God I can read them. But I was carrying these books around me forever. And I like have all these books, and she kept giving them to me. And I remember one year I left for culinary school, and I was at culinary school. I got a little chunky, and I came home. And I remember that year the book was about fruits and vegetables, and I was like, "Oh, you think you're funny?
Wow!
You think you're funny?" One of them was definitely a diet book one year, and I was like, "Is this
keep that?
A
you
joke?
Can keep that."
I was like, first of all, and all my cousins laughed, and I was like, "No, because she thinks she's slick. Why this year I got a diet book?"
Oh my God!
I got a little chunky. I'm sorry, I'm eating a lot. I'm in culinary school.
Yeah,
and so. Yeah, I was carrying these books around with me, and I was like from house to house, from from Miami to LA, and all this, and eventually I was just like, Grandma girl, you ain't writing nothing in no other part of this book. I just want the first page. And so what I bought today is literally just the first page of all those cookbooks. Wow. Because I've been loving to cook, I mean, literally my entire life. It's like the thing my grandmother and I did together. Yeah. And like, we would turn Food Network on the TV, and she would make us coffee. And we would get up in the morning, and she would make breakfast, and then we would sit down, and we'd have our coffee. And if it was Thanksgiving, we'd sit down, we have our coffee, and then get to cooking.
I love that, a pre-cooking ritual.
Yeah, we gonna have our coffee and talk, which is what she would say. And yes, she was fully giving me coffee. And we would just sit and chat and just get ready for whatever we were doing that day, which was probably cooking something else. And by the way, the coffee and the chatting with grandmother was also being done over like eggs, potatoes, a fried pork chop. Like, this was breakfast. Wow. A fried pork chop.
Luxury.
Yeah, I mean, Southern. I don't even know if it was luxury.
I think Southern culture is inherently luxury.
Really?
Like, when it's
done breakfast, right, that's gonna stick to your ribs, like some grits. Yeah. And a pork chop and some gravy.
I feel like Southern people do the most, and I mean this in the very best way. Like, who does that? Like, if you think about grits as a concept, it's like, who wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what I'm going to do is make this technical dish that requires a lot of attention and butter.
And remember, this is not, my grandmother, and neither do I, these are not quick grits.
Right.
We're making stone ground grits. These grits take 14 minutes.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Luxury.
And a pork chop.
Come on. Bone in.
Always.
Period.
My grandmother would make me a pork chop sandwich as a child, and it was literally a bone-in pork chop this size between two pieces of white bread. And she was like, here you go.
Right.
And other kids are like, I had a Lunchable. Like, I had a pork chop sandwich, french fries, and ketchup.
Right. Like a real barbecue restaurant in your house.
Ugh, I would kill for a fried pork chop sandwich right now.
I actually would kill for that right now. I think I agree.
Sounds like Jabari's gonna die today.
Sorry, Jabari.
It feels like we're both feeling kind of murderous. So yeah, it's my grandma's story. I also bought a peach cobbler for you guys because Mama doesn't bake. I was very clear. I know the pastry chefs hate when savory chefs say that, but here's the thing. I make cobblers and I make custards, banana pudding, any kind of cobbler, any kind of fruit cobbler.
I feel like that's like your bases are covered.
Yeah, cobblers, custards, and like small cobblers, custards, cupcakes, cookies. That's it. That's what I need. That is my wheelhouse. Like small cupcakes, cookies, like basic stuff like that. I make any type of fruit cobbler. And custards, I can make you a banana pudding. I can make cheesecake.
Let's go.
I'm very good at like those things.
Yeah.
Outside of that, hire a pastry chef.
I agree.
I got 4 things.
You would never go to a pastry chef and be like, could you sous vide this elk? I'm going to need it.
A lot of chefs do. They do both though. And I don't want to like act like that's not a thing because I do know pastry chefs that do savory.
I think most of them do.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to for the most part.
Yeah. But most chefs can't even make like whipped cream. Like it's like
that's not true.
You're right, but
that's
like
crazy. That's a wild statement.
Most chefs.
I know savory chefs who flat out don't bake. They're like,
they just refuse. Is what I'm saying. It's not that they can't. It's that they're like, I won't. I don't do that.
They're like, I don't bake. Hire someone else. And I'm like, you need at least
some
basic.
Just give me something.
You need basic desserts in your repertoire. Even if I make, Southern, I will make you a biscuit. I make a mean scone, by the way.
Scones are hard.
I make a fire scone. I make a mean scone. But scones are just biscuits.
Yeah, but to get the perfect crumble to like moisture
it's just laminating.
Ratio.
It's like when you make a croissant. It's just laminating.
Croissants are hard.
Oh yeah, I've only done it twice, and I would never.
I'm like, can I even?
It's not even hard.
Much
it just
butter?
Takes forever. Yeah, it just takes forever. But I use croissant technique when I make biscuits.
Oh.
So you do like the laminating and the butter and all the and then you get like a Popeyes.
So you just took it to another level.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It takes forever.
Wow.
It's good though.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's good though.
Oh my god.
I think we're both hungry. I am also in the process of building a course for private chefs. People always ask me, like, how do you get started? How did you get there? So the course is literally 15 to 20 years worth of information. This is how I got there. And once you get there, what do you do? Right. And how do you, the lesson I wrote last night, which is probably the hardest lesson at all, is how to establish price. And how do you decide what like makes sense for you and your business? And the fact that no one can really tell you what to charge, but I can tell you how to start.
Right.
And what makes sense for you.
I love that. I love that. I'm so deep in the personal development world because we have a production company and, when you're an entrepreneur, you're like, somebody please tell me how to do the things. And I always would look at chefs and go, who do they go to? Who's
private
telling
chefs?
them how to... All of them, honestly.
Yeah.
There's not enough, like any business growth book, it's like usually not written by someone in food. It's usually not written by someone in the ecosystem, whether it's farming, whether it's private chefing, restaurants. It's always something else. Just literally anything else. Yeah. I'm like, restaurants are out here. We found out how essential they really were in the pandemic. We were like, please keep them. We're like, you can drink in the street. I don't even care. You don't even need a license. Just go feed them. Just please don't close. We were like desperately trying to save them because they are such the fabric. And so I love that this is such important work because not enough people are like supporting them and supporting the people who are like, yeah, I do this and I want to do this and I want this to be my career. There needs to be more like people just, not gatekeeping. I think so.
The private chef industry could definitely be like that, but that's why I'm here because somebody did it for me. Like someone gave me my first celebrity client and it changed my life. You know, and just literally just off a referral I was in a private chef Facebook group. Yeah, and referral and boom, private jets, 2 years in and out the country. Lil Wayne's private chef, 2 years, literally just from that.
Wow. Oh my God. When we stop recording, you have to tell me about private jets.